Hi, this is Julie at Prairie Junction Quilt Shop in Cozad, Nebraska. Welcome to our June session of our Saturday Sampler Series. The program we're working on right now is Lori Holt's Farm Girl Vintage 2 project, and we're going to show you our blocks that we're featuring for the month. So this particular quilt has a combination of 6-inch and 12-inch blocks. So one of our biggest tips for you is to always make sure that you're sewing the correct size of block for the particular block that we've assigned. So we'll start with our 6-inch blocks. Here we have the Evening Star block, and you'll find that on page 45 in your Farm Girl Vintage 2 book. And it's really another pretty simple book. As always, Lori's instructions are very great step by step. You'll be able to follow along in your book. It's comprised of some little quarter square triangle units, a center unit, and then this little block corner is kind of a little interesting technique. You're actually sewing a little yellow square together with a little white square, and then you have a white rectangle across the top of that block unit. If I kind of flip this corner out of the way, you'll be able to see what it looks like underneath there. And once you've completed that corner unit, before you assemble all your blocks, so you'll just have that corner unit, you're going to pair it together with this green square, right sides together, draw a diagonal line on your green square, and then you're going to sew right on that diagonal line. You'll trim all this excess, and when you press that open, that makes this cute little corner unit. So you'll have 4 of those corners, and they go together with 4 of your quarter square triangles and your center unit, and that's all there is to making your Evening Star 6-inch block. Our next 6-inch block is called Mama's Antique, and you'll find that on page 85 in the Farm Girl Vintage 2 book. And it's comprised of very teeny tiny pieces, so you want to make sure you're cutting accurately and definitely sewing an accurate little 1/4 inch seam allowance, because just the tiniest little bit off on this block is going to make a big difference in those cute little pieces there in the center. So the little blocks in the corner are kind of a little unique construction method as well. Very similar though to what we just did on the corners of the Evening Star block. So I have a yellow square, and I'm going to add on a background rectangle to the bottom of that, and another background rectangle to the side of that block. And once I have that constructed, I'm going to layer it right sides together. I have to make sure I'm angling it right. That's the other most important part. You'll lay that right sides together with your red square, draw a diagonal line, sew on that diagonal line, trim your excess, and when you fold that open, you have these cute little corner blocks. So you'll have 4 of those, and then this little strip unit here is just comprised of a little tiny blue square on the back of a background piece. So you have 2 of those units joined together with another center unit. And you'll just want to make sure that you pay careful attention to the pressing directions for this particular block to make sure that all of those tiny little pieces nest together when you're assembling that. So once again, that's your 6-inch block. And then we'll move over to our 12-inch blocks. We'll work here on Mr. Scarecrow first. And remember, he's a 12-inch block. He's found on page 99 in your book. And he is really very simple, straightforward sewing. Almost everything on this cute little guy are just squares and rectangles for the most part. We just have a few corner triangle units in there, and some corner triangle units on his face, and some more corner square triangle units here to make his cute little scarf. So once again, lots of little pieces, so you want to make sure that you're very careful and get your accurate seam allowance. But this block is really just a matter of laying all the pieces out in the correct order to sew him together. So he's very simple as well. Then our last block for the month is our Happy Horse. And those of you that know Barb is the gal that sewn our sample for this. And prior to the pandemic, we had the Barb and Julie show where you were able to come in the store and we would do a demo here. So Barb adds a lot of life to our party. And so Barb's quote on the Happy Horse block is, "You're most likely going to be happy when you're finished sewing it." This is probably one of the most complex blocks in the book, so this would be a great one to make sure that you are fresh when you're sewing this. Don't try to sew it at midnight when you've had a long, exhausting day. Sew it when you're ready to tackle a little bit of a challenge. Definitely going to want to make sure very accurate 1/4" seam allowance on this because of all the tiny pieces. Now, it's not complicated. There's just a lot of pieces and you need to keep things organized. And I'll show you quick here in the book. So Mr. Happy Horse has a full page of cutting directions. And so this is another tip that we've shared before, but they have 6-inch and 12-inch directions in the book. So it's a great idea to take a sticky note, cover the set of measurements that you're not using. So we're not using the 6-inch blocks. So I would cover all those measurements. Then you don't get confused between which set of directions you're cutting. And you'll notice, because there's so many pieces in this block, Lori has them labeled letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And now we've gotten past 26 pieces, so she's labeled them A, B, B, C, C, so on and so forth. Now she's got this great little tool called Alphabetties that she came out with her first block. And they're little tiles that are labeled with the alphabet and with numbers. And they're great for laying out your pieces on a design board as you cut, and then laying the letter that they correspond to help keep your pieces straight. But a lot of her blocks in this book go beyond 26 pieces. So she recently introduced this Alphabetty expansion set. And this little set has the double letters in it. So you have your A, your G, so on and so forth. And it also has numbers from 10 up to 19 as well. So that's a great extra set, especially if you've used the Alphabetties already, to pick up an extra set of those to help you keep the pieces of your blocks all organized while you're sewing. So we love those. They're called the expansion set for the Alphabetties, and we have those in stock. And the other little notion I'll show you is these little crystal head pins. As I've mentioned several times already in this little demo, a lot of these pieces have teeny tiny blocks, and we love these little crystal head pins. I don't know how well you can see on camera there, but I pulled one of the standard pins that a lot of quilters use for their piecing, and I compared them here with the crystal head pins. And you can see how fine these pins are compared to this traditional pin. And when you're sewing with such teeny tiny pieces, even just the width of your pin can make a little difference in your accuracy. So we really like to use these tiny fine pins when we're sewing such tiny pieces, that they can really make a difference in your piecing as well. So that's another little helpful notion that we like. And now we'll zip back to finishing up the Happy Horse. Really, it's all corner square triangle units again as well. If you can, I don't know how close you can see on the little horse's mane here. And this is all, once again, step by step in Lori's book, starting on page 72. She does an excellent job in breaking these out step by step. It might be a good place, if you don't mind using pencil to mark in your book, maybe checking off each step as you go along to help keep yourself in order. But they're all really just little corner square triangles sewn together with rectangles to put that block together. His little saddle blanket is made up of little tiny squares together to make a little patchwork. But if you didn't want to do that, you could just cut one piece of a cute focal fabric for that area instead. You would cut it 4.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and you could use one piece of fabric if you don't want to do all that additional piecing as well. In several Facebook groups, I've seen them take a really cute little fabric and fussy cut a cute little design to replace that as well. So that would be an option to help streamline that block as well. And once you get a piece, there's some cute little embroidery details. You can embroider the handle on his pail, and I think you can get cute little button eyes, or you could do little French knot eyes to finish him off. But that's the Happy Horse, and as Barb says, you'll be happy once you get that block done. So if you happen to have been just joining us for this particular series, we do want to let you know we do still have kits available for this project. The version that we are doing, actually, as you can see here, We are doing the truck version, the flower, I believe it's called the Flower Farm truck. And we did a little different layout with choose some different blocks than was originally pictured in the sample in the book. But all of those blocks are included in the Farm Girl Vintage 2 book, and we do have complete kits for that. Each kit is packaged up by month. This will kind of show you how our kits are packaged. You get a color picture of our block samples, as well as the fabrics that you need to make those blocks. So we tried to streamline it for you and make it easy, but kits are still available if you would like to join us. So thanks for checking in with us. Hopefully you picked up a few good tips today. And once again, this was Julie at Prairie Point Junction in Cozad, Nebraska. And you can find all the products that I talked about today at prairiepointjunction.com. Thank you.